This is Nuance with Nikki, the nitty gritty, even if it's shitty. Happy Groen Kant anniversary, I guess. October marks the month of 1 year since the whole Groen Kant Wit Kant scandal. Now, if you don't know what happened, you're probably not a rugby fan. It is when Bongi Mbonambi, a South African rugby player, just before the semi final of the Rugby World Cup, was accused of calling a British player a white cunt. Bongi Mbonambi comes from the Free State. It is a Sotho speaking and Afrikaans speaking part of our country. It is very unlikely, as every South African will tell you over and over again, that he would use such an Anglophone slur. Okay, just a bit of naughtiness. Please, if your grandmother's in the room, please chase her away because the language I'm about to use here is about to make some people's ears fall off. But I just wanted to point out that there are many slurs. Bongi Bonambi was more likely to use than cunt. He could have used the word bus, the Afrikaans word for cunt. He could have used mundu. He could have used mahunyo. But most likely, I wonder if you think that we don't have a slur for the British, right? I already showed you in three languages the slurs that he knows, right? Our slur for the British was once called sout pil, which means salt penis. So if we wanted a genitalia slur, come on. Of course we have one. All English speakers, myself included, are called soties, right? Because the indication is that you have one foot in South Africa, the other in England, and your penis is hanging in the sea. It used to be a slur, it's now a term of endearment, depending. But yeah, that was just a fun, very naughty nuance to this. Okay, I'm so sorry. Please, 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 South Africans, stay friends with me. I taught them bad language. I'm a terrible influence. No, don't tell my mother. Right? We kind of know our people. We've been South Africans our whole lives. But we're done arguing about this. Um, we've been told we're making excuses as if we're walking around wanting to make excuses to Westerners. I'm not sure if you guys got the memo yet. We're not actually. We were just trying to contextualize. But whatever. Whatever. This conversation isn't for you if you're here to disagree about what happened. We're not here for that. I'm here to snitch. I'm here to pimp. I'm here to tell my brothers and sisters in South Africa where Mr. Curry even got the inspiration for this. I meant to make the video at the time. Around that time, unfortunately, I lost my cousin to murder, and then my focus also to shifted to Palestine, right? But I did actually make a video. I was newer at editing. I was really trying to tell stories from many, many sides at the time. And yeah, either way. Yeah, so here's the video. I called it South Africa and the C word, a look back at 2023. I was focusing both on the whole colored issue that was happening with Tyler, and I was focusing on the allegation of Kant, and basically how South Africa stood together behind Bongi and Bonambi, and how people of all races were actually quite united by the West at the same time, you know, attacking us. And I was feeling all patriotic about it and all of that kind of thing. Um, so I'm still rather emotional about this one, right? So the history of this is that in this October of 2023, it was like South Africa was fighting a battle on both fronts. You had these two nations that had always owned the world's narratives, and they were coming and demonizing us and having bad faith conversations with us. And I was at the time taking it quite personally because I'm much more accustomed to South Africa being ignored than being scrutinized and especially mischaracterized, right? Somewhat used to mischaracterization, but scrutinization is something that I'm getting used to as you are all becoming more interested in our country, okay? But at the time, I promised that I had unearthed something, and I just found it in my editing information today. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I would love for you guys to go watch this video. I really put a lot of love into it, and some of it is very, very funny as well. Much funnier than the videos I make currently. But yeah, what was I trying to say? I unearthed what it was that inspired Tom Curry to do this in the first place, right? And I wanted to be very careful about it because when I realized what it was, I didn't want to demonize the man behind it. And his name is Anton Ferdinand. Okay, but let me give you the story and we'll get into it. A couple of months before that October, I want to say it was the August before, a British soccer team in America had managed to get a soccer game cancelled. And this is the footage that I never showed you. Here you go.
We are following breaking news. An alleged racial slur prompted officials to suspend a soccer match at a major tournament in Cary tonight. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ashley Rowe.
And I'm Gerald Owens. This happened during the West Ham Dallas United match, part of the soccer tournament tonight. Chris Lee joining us in the studio. Chris, major tournament, a lot of people watching this. What do we know about the comment?
Yeah, this is a new tournament and a big deal for our area and for the game in general. And now on its first day, it's being stained by an alleged racial slur being used.
So, of course, immediately my defenses went up. I was like, I know exactly what that feels like. You see, in America, soccer is not the biggest thing. I felt that the Americans in the situation were the underdogs, and I felt at the time, until I had more information, that it was very underhanded of a British player to have this game cancelled just when the Dallas team was up 2-0. I was like, what the heck? How classist of them. They're so snide. But there is more to the story, okay? I do still think that what happened to the Americans was unfair. Let's watch more of the video and you'll find out why.
The soccer tournament's organizers suspended the match between West Ham United and Dallas United tonight. They say they are investigating allegations of usage of a racial slur. Now, this is video after the match. This is where the teams gathered together trying to figure out what was going on.
So that guy over there is an NFL player, an American football player. Okay, and you may hear a sound now in a second. Don't worry about it. There's just sounds in my house. But he is an NFL player, and he actually had invested millions in making this very meaningful thing happen for Dallas, right? It was a very important match for them.
Going on. One of the investors for this, Chris Paul, NBA All-Star, plays for the Phoenix Suns. He's from North Carolina. You see him right there, and he's in this video trying to figure out what's going on.
And then that guy over there is Anton Ferdinand. That is the reason why I didn't make this video. I didn't want to demonize him because I did look into his story. And I also get the rationale behind why he did that. Now, this is nuance with Nikki, so we can hold space for everybody. We can hold space for the American Latino guy who he has probably wanted to be a soccer player his whole life. And the United States is not exactly the place where he would have the same, how can I say, the same level of career that he would have had in Latin America, right? That's a term that I understand that part of America to be called. I know there's a lot of debates about that, but that's how I understand it. Please just go with it. I don't mean any offense to anybody there, but I just don't think that he would have compromised his career this way. So I feel extreme compassion for him in being slurred in this way. However, I also feel compassion for Anton Ferdinand. I do believe he was a bad actor in this story, but I don't believe his intention was malicious. The river runs deep with this story, guys, but let's just go with a version of the story where he is the bad guy. Let's just watch.
That is Anton Ferdinand that you're seeing right there on your video. He's an English soccer player. He's upset because there's clearly something that he had heard. TST released a statement on Twitter saying in part, quote, TST has zero tolerance towards racial abuse and take these allegations very seriously. After speaking with players and coaches from both teams, officials, and consulting audio from our production team, TST will plan on releasing their findings from this investigation when it becomes available. Now, Dallas United is launching their own internal investigation since it's alleged that one of their players is the one who said this alleged racial slur. Outside of this one incident, it was a really good opening day for this tournament that just debuted today. We will show you more of that.
It just debuted. They just had this beautiful moment. It must have been devastating for them, and on their behalf, I was really furious. I thought, what bullies? What bullies the British must be to know that they could cancel a game when they were down, just by using a racial slur. And I was reflecting on the fact that that kind of thing doesn't work in South Africa. In South Africa, if you unfairly accuse someone of racism. First of all, we take it so seriously that we're going to look. We'll be the first one to call them out, right? By way of example, I was going to show how our DJ, Anele, had once been quite colorist to Destiny's Child, Kelly, when she was pitting Kelly up against Beyonce. Kelly is only vaguely aware of this, right? But South African Black Twitter was the loudest voice against one of our own in this country. You know, our Black people are very reflective, and they'll be the first to call their own out. They'll be the first to call any of us out. And so people across all these races, across all the races in South Africa, I'm not saying every individual person, there are assholes like in every nation, we have a huge variety, but across race groups, you will always find South Africans. And you know, Anile still hasn't lived that down. I mean, here I am bringing it up again. I think it's probably 6 years now. She still hasn't lived it down, right? But if you come with an unfair accusation and we find it's unfair, that's not going to go down in South Africa. In America, it's a very cruel thing to do because, especially at that point in history, your the consequences in America could be very, very heavy if you do that unfairly. Okay, I mean, I'm sure it's more nuanced and all of that, but that's my perception of everything. But I do want you to see the version here of what happened. It's in my editing footage. Okay, it's in my editing footage, and I want you to see what I thought, besides the fact that, you know, 6 months before the rugby match that Tom Curry was playing, he was obviously watching the soccer match, right? But he also would have been a child watching this incident that had happened years before to Anton Ferdinand. And here's where it got sticky with me and why I initially didn't do the video, because I didn't know how to handle it.
Come over me, like, you know when they say your blood boils, it just hit me.
What did you see him saying in the footage?
He said, "You fucking black cunt. You fucking knobhead."
So that British rugby player over there had called Anton Ferdinand a black C word, right? And I was like, that's where Tom Curry got the idea. So I was ready to go for them. But I looked into Anton Ferdinand's story. And before you judge, I do want you to go watch the documentary on Vimeo, Anton Ferdinand, Football, Racism, and Me. Because when you hear Anton Ferdinand's story, it's actually incredibly painful. It is so painful. I like the level of passive aggressive racism in Britain that I learned about in this video. He's a mixed race person. He's had people just leave notes saying they're going to rape his mom, you know? So that's where I have compassion for him without excusing his behavior here, because he also had a responsibility to check. But I don't know, that's something, that kind of nuance is something that I think South Africa has had a lot more experience with. We obviously, I really think, as much as we judge the Truth and Reconciliation Commission because it wasn't perfect, and as much as we judge our racial progress because we focus so much on the exceptions rather than the rule, we don't realize that as bad as we think we are, we're actually the best the world has in terms of this topic. I genuinely say that as a traveler and as someone who has looked into how other countries are dealing with this. In a lot of other countries, the racism just went passive aggressive. It just went beneath the surface like a beach ball, and it keeps popping its head up. In South Africa, it had the balls to look you in the face. And many people have said because of that, we could face it head on. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, okay, and I know all of this is more nuanced than what I'm saying, but I did want you to know that Tom Curry just didn't do this out of the wind. He watched that story with this player, Terry. I don't remember his first name. I don't even want to go look back at him. That man has never taken accountability. He's the kind of person that said, I want to move on with my life, right? Not realizing that it's actually very easy to move on with your life if you just do the one thing. It takes a lot of courage. It feels horrible before you did. Well, once you're done, you say, shit, I'm sorry, I fucked up. Once you do that, you open up space for healing for everyone, right? You as the perpetrator don't just get away with something and say you want to move on with your life. You haven't. Your hands are dirty. They remain dirty until you have uttered the words of accountability. But that's between him and his maker. We can't control people like this, okay? But yeah, this is the messy nitty gritty. Tom Curry did it deliberately. He did it deliberately. He intentionally used something that he had a historical precedent for, and he knew that it worked. It had worked before. And I am so proud of my cheesy country, my funny, funny country, of in the end making fun and making jokes of um of people like him. Okay? Here we were standing together.
Kykie guys, did you guys see how the boere mannen toppies, the boere 50, the timers 50 and up. Bro, dat mense, hulle gebruik hulle beste Afrikaans om vir die man te protect. And come on man, that's why I wasn't racist, is mad. England is befok. They befok in the kop. How can they think this man called him Witkan in a time when there was no reason to say it? But anyway, we must not gonna back our boy. He's not gonna get cancelled. Hy gaan in die final speel. Hy gaan die game wen vir ons. Kyk net nou. Hulle wil vir hom kwaad maak. Hy gaan die game wen vir ons. Come on, Bongi Mbonambi.
Hi Stanley. Nee, ons kant is skoon. Ons as Suid-Afrikaners hou daarvan om ons kant skoon te hou. Ek weet nou nie of jou kant skoon is nie hoor, maar we still backing Bongi. Dankie, lekker aand.
You calling me a liar?
Well, if the boot fits.
Say that again.
If the boot fits.
As groen kant vir ons, is net groen kant.
Philip Lowe is the chief editor of the Woordeboek for the Afrikaanse Taal. Bongi Mbonambi is the part owner. He's been sponsored the word cunt or side.
If you feel like you're stuck in the sand and you have nowhere to go, else's hand, you weren't meant to do this alone. If you feel
Yo, guys, I keep wanting to commentate and then I just get a groot lekker kry. I just enjoy the living daylights out of that video. So yes, I do want to send a huge thank you to Tom Curry and any of the British supporters who tried to use this to undermine us. We are South Africa. The same rules have never worked here, not since the Ice Age. When the world was covered in ice, one place was warm enough to sustain life. You gave us an opportunity to prove to ourselves that we are proteas. You see, a protea, trying to cut down a South African is like trying to burn the national flower, the protea. When you burn a protea is the first flower to recover from a fire. You burn a protea, all that happens is more seeds blow out. In my video, I showed there how it was actually the British that wrote all the race laws in South Africa. The way that your colonialist things work in other countries, there's something weird in the juju about my nation. It just does not work the same way. And so all you guys accomplished was giving us a heck of a lot of fun. We made wine labeled Witkant. We made merch and t-shirts labeled Witkant. We bought Bongi Mbonambi the word kant, which means side in Afrikaans. We bought him that word in the dictionary. You tried it. And today, as Britain knows, and as all rugby players know, we've won, I don't even know how many cups. I don't even know enough about rugby. I just know that we are like ridiculously at the top. And the more you come from us, the more mud you throw at us. The more you, who first divided us back in the 1800s, when you guys realized that you needed our gold, you started a war here. You invented concentration camps here. You put our white people into concentration camps. You put people of all races who supported our Boere into concentration camps. When you realized you couldn't get them down, you were trying to get the Boere to work for low wages, the Boere wouldn't. You were trying to get the Zulus to work for low wages, the Zulus wouldn't. So then you imported the Chinese into our country. And they worked for those wages, but then you realized, hey, We can divide this country racially. You did the best research you'd ever done in any of your colonies. You researched everything you'd ever done around the world to create the most perfect system of racism, right? And when we first played again in 1995, you know, we used the game. That was the first thing we did together. We used the game of rugby to unite for the first time. We were so insecure playing against our beloved rivals, New Zealand, the first people who had protested against apartheid. They led the whole world to protest against apartheid purely because of a status called honorary white status. This was a status that was given to the Maori and they refused it. It was the kind of status that was given to African American people in this country. They didn't often refuse it when they got it. Only one man, a tennis player, is known to have refused it. But the Maori refused it. They protested, and then the whole world and South Africa's allies then protested, and that would lead to our eventual freedom. Okay, so basically, beating you was fantastic at a game that you invented. We have a lot of fun with that, but also showing you up. And every time you come for us in the comments, we really genuinely have lots of fun with it. That we could get back to you in a way that wasn't the way you did it. It wasn't through colonization or something. It's in sportsmanship. It's on a field, where there are parameters and rules. It's with a sport that was once used as a symbol of white supremacy in this nation, which is now used as a symbol of unity. So I just want to thank you, because the ANC also, in their 30 years, tried to separate us so that they could cash in on racial divisions. Just as we were getting together, they started putting out things like white minority capital without explaining what that was, right? Apparently, it's the white billionaires, it's the Stellenbosch mafia. That's who it actually is, and those people actually fund every single political party. So I know EFF members won't like me saying this, but yes, Julius Malema too. Okay, they fund every single political party, like they're behind everything. Um, and so that was used, one of the things that was used to divide us. But the game, the game has really given us an excuse to get along, and we're milking it. We're enjoying it. We really genuinely are. So guys, the river runs deep. So to any rugby fans who've joined here, any South African rugby fans, maybe you've heard some history. I hope in future, I'm not promising, but I hope in future to do videos of our history with New Zealand, because it's fascinating, it's magical. And I hope to have many haters, so please keep hating in the comments. It sends my algorithms up. And so this has been Nuance with Nikki, the nitty gritty, even if it's shitty. Yes, I said shitty. I know I'm never gonna monetize. Doesn't matter. Hashtag remember Congo. Take care of yourselves. I love you guys. And I appreciate you. Bye.